Alicia here. I hope you are doing well. And if you're new here, this is the place where we talk about books. Today I am here to bring to you my November TBR. I got lots of things to go over today. First up, we are going to announce the winner of my 500 subscriber giveaway. Then I'm going to do my D20 challenge, which is my monthly TBR game. And then I built a full TBR for the IndigAThon. The IndigAthon is a month-long readathon hosted by Michelle at Thor Wants Another Letter and Brody at 2Brody. I will link all of their channels and the information about the IndigAthon below. But without further ado, let's just get into all of those things. First up, we are going to announce the winner of my 500 subscriber giveaway. For this giveaway, I am giving away a copy of A Song for the Unraveling of the World by Brian Evanson. This is one of my favorite short story collections that I have read in 2020. So I have just like a comment picker app here on my phone. I will put it up on the screen here so you can follow along with it. So basically I have just put in the YouTube video that has all of the comments. That was how you entered the giveaway, and we are just going to pick a random winner. So the winner is Avi. Congratulations, Avi. You always leave me really nice comments. So I am totally thrilled for you to have won this contest. So I will put my email address in the description below. So please get in touch with me that way and send me your address and I will send you a copy of this book. So congratulations, Avi. Now we are moving into the D20 challenge component of this TBR video. So every month I have a D20 TBR game that is a game that is designed to help me pick books from my own TBR and read them. So I've got a D20 here, which is a 20-sided die. I have a prompt associated with every number on this die, and every month I roll the die 3 times, and then with whatever prompt that comes up, I pick a book on my own TBR and I read it. This is just a way to help me prioritize what I have on my shelf when for everything else that I read in the month, it's just whatever the heck I'm feeling. So we're just gonna roll this 3 times, and then with whatever comes up, we will pick a book associated with it. So without further ado, let's move on to roll number 1. So roll number 1 is the number 17, and that is to read a 5-star prediction. So I had some foresight in the past and I made a 5-star prediction video so that when this prompt came up, I would have a nice, concise list to pick from. Because the whole thing about me is that I'm really indecisive. So I feel like I want all books to be 5 stars, and then I'll just sit here staring at my shelf for eternity not picking anything. So I had a nice condensed list of books in this 5-star prediction video, and I just am gonna pick one from that list. So the book that I have chosen for this prompt is Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. This will be my 3rd Nick Cutter book. I have previously read The Troop and The Deep, and I really liked them, but for some reason, Little Heaven this seems like this is gonna be his book that I like the most. I just have that feeling about this. This is about a group of mercenaries. There are 3 of them, and they get hired by a woman to go and find her nephew who she believes has joined some sort of cult in New Mexico. So it is a group of misfit mercenaries going on a mission to find a guy in a cult. This just sounds so incredible to me. I just feel like I'm gonna love it. I feel like this is going to be a 5-star book. And I just know that Nick Cutter loves being like bloody and gory and just over the top. And I just really like his writing style. So this is my pick for a 5-star prediction book. Now let's move on to roll number 2. So the second roll of the die revealed the number 16, and that is to read a repeat author. So an author that I have read from before. So that is really convenient for me this month because I really wanted to read Wild Seed by Octavia E. Butler. I have read 2 other books by Octavia Butler. I've read Kindred and Parable of the Sower, and this is the Octavia Butler slow read-along book for October and November. So I will be reading Wild Seed, which is the first book in the Patternist series. I do not know much about Wild Seed. I kind of just know that it is an urban fantasy historical fiction that is about immortals who are also shapeshifters, I believe. That is like the very loose description that I understand about this story, but I trust Octavia Butler to just weave an incredible story, and yeah, I want to read this for that slow read along, so that's perfect, and it works out. For this, for the number 16, I will be reading Wild Seed. Now let's move on to that third and final roll. So the third roll revealed the number 4, which is to read an intimidating read or a book that is out of my comfort zone. So what better intimidating read than the book that has been on my TBR the longest, and that is Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson. I have had this book on my TBR for a long time, more than a decade, more than maybe even 15 years. I have had this book on my TBR. It has moved with me multiple times, and the longer that I don't read it, the longer that like the distance between me and it becomes, but I can't get rid of it because I really do want to read it. I just have never found the right time. So you could say I am intimidated by this book in some way, but in the month of November, I am going to be buddy reading this book with Bert from Pastory Time. So yay, Bert is going to help me actually get into this book, read this book. We're going to do it. We're going to conquer Snow Crash. So Snow Crash is a cyberpunk science fiction story about a guy named Hero Protagonist. He is a pizza delivery boy by day, and then by night he jumps into the metaverse, which I believe is some sort of virtual reality world, where he's just like a butt-kicking, bad guy slaying hero. So pizza boy by day, hero by night. That sounds incredible. I love like cyberpunk. We just read Fools by Pat Cadigan last month, and it really got me in the like cyberpunk zone. So I am ready to conquer this tome on my shelf that has been there since time immemorial. So for the number 4, I will be reading Snow Crash. So that was my D20 challenge, and I have also built an entire TBR for the IndigAThon. I will link up above the bingo board that Michelle and Brody have put together for the IndigAThon. You can mix and match prompts, you can try and fulfill all of them. I have picked about 6 books that I'm going to be reading for this readathon, so I will go over the books and show you what prompts they're matching. So first up, I've got Love After the End, an anthology of Two-Spirit and indigiqueer speculative fiction. This is a short story collection edited by Joshua Whitehead. Joshua Whitehead is an OG Cree author, and then all of the authors in this are Two-Spirit and queer indigenous authors. So I have picked this short story collection to meet the intersectionality prompt of the IndigAThon, and I cannot wait to read this one. Next up, I have Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline. Cherie Dimaline is a Métis author, and I am reading this one both for the new to me author prompt as well as the buddy read prompt, because I will be reading this with Kat from Biblio Obscura. Empire of Wild is a contemporary fiction fantasy story, I believe, that is inspired by the Métis traditional story of the Rougarou, which I believe believe is a werewolf-like creature. So that sounds really exciting, very kind of fantastical, magical, set in modern day. And yeah, I can't wait to read this one. Next up, I've got Alatswe by Darcy Little Badger. Darcy Little Badger is a Leap and Apache author, and I have picked this one for the new to me author prompt. I am also reading this as a buddy read, and I'm also picking this to fulfill the middle grade prompt. I believe Alatswe might be a mix between middle grade and YA. I'm not quite sure where this one fits. This might be a little bit more YA than middle grade, but I've kind of picked this for this prompt. Alatswe is a contemporary fantasy science fiction story. It is set in a alternative America where it's very similar to the America that we might recognize, but it's also very much informed by magic, by monsters, by Leap and Apache lore and mythology. And it is about a girl who can raise the ghosts of dead animals. It is a gift that has been passed down to her, and she uses this ability to go on a quest to find out what has happened to her cousin who has been found murdered. So it's kind of like a murder mystery, magic, mythology story, but I feel like there's also a lot of social commentary that is going on in this. I will also be buddy reading Alatswe with Pixies with Pens. I will link their YouTube channel and information below, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to buddy read this one with them. Next, I will be reading Annie Muktuk and Other Stories by Norma Dunning. Norma Dunning is an Inuit writer, and this is a collection of contemporary short stories, all inspired by Inuit culture. And I'll be reading this one there's a whole bunch of prompts this fits. This fits as a new to me author. This fits as a book that takes place outside of the US. Norma Dunning is an Inuit author. And then also a book that takes place outside of the 5 civilized tribes. I heard about this short story collection from Thunderbird Woman Reads, and she just made this sound absolutely incredible and like an experience that I didn't want to miss out on. So I'm really excited to get to this one in November. Next up, I will be reading Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. Richard Wagamese is an Ojibwe writer, and this will be my second novel by them. I have previously read Medicine Walk, and that was an absolutely beautiful novel. It just got me absolutely hooked on Richard Wagamese's storytelling, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to read another book by him. This is a contemporary story following an Ojibwe man named Saul Indian Horse, and the novel kind of starts at a critical moment where Saul is in a treatment facility. He is kind of bottomed out in his life. And then from there, from the present, we go back in time and follow Saul's life. And I believe that Saul was a child who was brought into the Indian residential school system in Canada, which is an absolutely heinous piece of Canadian history. I believe this also talks about hockey a lot. I feel like that is Saul is like a very expert hockey player. I have learned from Richard Wagamese that he just writes some absolutely devastating fiction, but it is very much rooted in fact and education, and really kind of shares a perspective and an experience of being an Indigenous person in Canada or any colonized nation, and I am really excited to read this one. I have picked this one for the prompt of a book set outside of the US. And finally, the last novel that I have picked for the IndigAThon is Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. I feel like I am on a Stephen Graham Jones roll right now. I read The Only Good Indians in September and then Mapping the Interior in October, so why not just move into a third one for November? Stephen Graham Jones is a Blackfeet author, and I have picked this for just the free space. I just picked this for the free space prompt on the board. Why not just put in exactly what I want to read right there? Other than The Only Good Indians, I feel like Mongrels might be Stephen Graham Jones' most well-known work. This is kind of a contemporary horror that is the story of a family of werewolves. I don't know much else about it, and I don't really want to. I just really want to go into the experience of his novel. And I know now that Stephen Graham Jones is this perfect mix of horror and family drama, but then also a lot of social commentary is wrapped up into his stories as well. And I just can't wait. And then finally, the last prompt on the IndigAThon board that I would like to fulfill in November is to consume a piece of non-bookish media. So something that has to do with Indigenous culture that is just not a fiction novel. So for this one, I have picked a documentary. I will link the information up here. I will be watching the documentary, Picking Up the Pieces, The Making of the Witness Blanket. And this is a 90-minute documentary that follows an Indigenous artist, Carrie Newman, over the course of a few years, I think, where he traveled coast to coast across Canada and collected interviews and objects and artifacts from different people who were a part of the residential school system in Canada, which is an absolutely horrible piece of our history, a horrible piece of Canadian history. And he, through these interviews and through this kind of object and artifact gathering, he built the Witness Blanket, which is a giant art installation that was inspired by the woven blanket. And then so the documentary is about the making of the Witness Blanket, and then this blanket is now I think it kind of travels as an art installation from province to province. So I will link the information here and then also below, but that is what I will be watching for the non-bookish media prompt. So there you have it, pals. That is my November TBR, a very successful D20 TBR game, and then also the IndigAThon TBR that I am very excited to be participating in this year. Also, congratulations again, AV, on winning the giveaway. So let me know if you've read any of these books, pals, and what you thought. Let me know if you want to read any of them, and we can chat about it. So thanks again, as always, for being here. I absolutely love hanging out with you guys, and you guys are you're just the absolute bee's knees. So until next time, take care out there and see you back!